I met Olivia on a Tuesday. I remember that because it was raining, and her umbrella flipped inside out in the wind. She stood there in the middle of the school parking lot, laughing, not even trying to fix it. Most people would have been annoyed, but she just laughed, like it was the best thing that had ever happened. I offered to share mine, and she looked at me with those storm gray eyes and said, "Only if you promise not to fall in love with me." I smiled and replied, "Too late." She rolled her eyes, but her cheeks turned pink. We were 14, not the kind of 14 that thinks about taxes or college applications. The kind that still believes in magic, in signs, in running until you're breathless just to catch fireflies. Olivia was my entire world before I even realized what that meant. She lived 3 doors down from me in a white house with peeling blue shutters. Her window always had fairy lights in it, even in the summer, and every night we'd message until we were too tired to type, then fall asleep with our phones still lit on the pillow. Our days bled into each other. Bike rides through fallen leaves, long talks on the swing behind her dad's barn, marshmallows burnt over backyard fires, and the silences. God, even our silences felt full. I could sit next to her for hours and never say a word, and somehow still feel more understood than anywhere else in the world. Our friendship was loud and quiet all at once. We had instant jokes, a shared playlist on her old iPod, and a list taped behind her dresser of all the places we wanted to visit one day. Paris, Portland, Iceland, anywhere that wasn't here. People at school used to tease us. Just date already. Y'all are basically married. We'd just smile, because we knew. We didn't need labels. We had something that didn't need explaining. One evening, Olivia snuck into my backyard just past midnight, whispering my name like the wind. She wore her dad's oversized hoodie and a mischievous grin. "We're stealing a canoe," she whispered. I blinked. "We're doing what?" "Shh, come on." We crept down to Miller Lake, the place our parents told us never to go after dark. But that night, it was silent, peaceful, like the entire lake had been waiting just for us. We dragged an old aluminum canoe to the water, pushed off barefoot, and drifted into the center. No phones, no noise, just stars, and the sound of crickets echoing over still water. She laid back against the metal and whispered, "Do you think we'll still know each other when we're 40? I looked at her. "Liv, I don't think there'll be a day I don't know you." And in that moment, floating under a sky full of stars, I think we both knew. We weren't just kids anymore. We were falling. Hard. And the universe felt okay with that. The call came late on a Saturday. I was in my room, half asleep, scrolling through my phone when Mom knocked on the door. She didn't say anything at first, just held the phone out to me with trembling hands and eyes already red. It was Olivia. Her voice was barely a whisper. "She's gone." Her mom, the woman who used to braid Olivia's hair on picture day and leave handwritten notes in her lunchbox, had overdosed in her sleep. Just like that. Gone. I didn't say anything. I just told her to come over. She showed up with nothing but a backpack and a hoodie that smelled like her mother's perfume. Her eyes were empty. I'd never seen her like that, not even close. And when I opened the door, she just collapsed into me. No words, just trembling shoulders and a broken heartbeat pressed against mine. My parents didn't hesitate. They let her stay. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. We moved her dresser into our guest room, but she never slept there. She slept in mine. On a mattress beside my bed at first. Then eventually we stopped pretending and shared the bed like it was the most natural thing in the world. I remember one night I found her crying, softly under the covers, clutching her mom's necklace like a lifeline. I held her hand, kissed her knuckles, and whispered, "You're not alone. You'll never be alone again." And I meant every word. We became something different after that. Not just high school sweethearts. We were each other's anchor. Her grief lived inside our walls, but so did hope, and laughter slowly returned. I'd come home from school to find her dancing barefoot in the kitchen, singing into a spoon, wearing one of my old t-shirts. We'd cook terrible dinners, laugh through burnt pancakes, and fall asleep watching old movies on my laptop. We built a life within a life. She painted a mural on the wall above my desk, a sky full of paper airplanes and planets with our names on them. "So we don't forget," she said, "where we're headed." One night, 2 months before we turned 18, Olivia came into my room with a shoebox and a permanent marker. "We're making a future box," she grinned. We sat on the carpet, surrounded by old Polaroids, ticket stubs, and notes we used to pass in class. She wrote "Open at 30" on the lid and placed the first item inside, a folded napkin from the diner where we had our first unofficial date. I added a guitar pick, the one I nervously dropped when I tried to impress her by playing her favorite song. She slipped in a letter addressed to the Olivia you're about to become, and sealed it with a kiss. "I want to open it with you," she said, "on a porch, somewhere with mountains, maybe with a dog asleep at our feet." I nodded. "We'll be there." She leaned her head on my shoulder, and we sat there in silence, a silence that wasn't empty. It was full of dreams. That was the thing about us. We didn't just talk about forever. We planned it, carefully, deliberately. We picked out names for our imaginary kids, talked about wedding songs, joked about who would cry first at the altar. Spoiler, it was always going to be me. We were counting down the days until her 18th birthday, and the day after, we were finally going to leave Asheville, together. We had it all mapped out. A new city, new life, just us, forever. The day after Olivia turned 18, I woke up with this electric buzz in my chest. We had waited so long for this moment. No more pretending, no more small-town whispers, no more holding back. I had everything ready. A room booked at a cozy little inn just outside Asheville. Warm lights, mountain views, one of those old clawfoot bathtubs she'd always dreamed about. My mom, who had grown to love Olivia like a daughter, handed me the keys to her car and kissed my forehead. "Drive safe," she said, smiling. "You two deserve this." We loaded the trunk with snacks, a duffel bag each, and a playlist Olivia had stayed up half the night curating. She was glowing, hair up in a messy bun, sunglasses too big for her face, and a coffee in her hand she kept trying to sip while dancing in the passenger seat. God, she was beautiful. We drove with the windows down, the wind tangled in her laugh, music too loud, hearts too full. She sang every song, throwing me glances between lyrics, reaching over to squeeze my hand when she thought I wasn't looking. We talked about what we'd do first when we got there. Walk downtown, get tattoos, eat overpriced cupcakes, pretend we were already married. 3 hours in, we were flying down the highway, past pine trees and distant ridgelines, with the kind of joy that makes you forget you're still fragile. Around noon, Olivia spotted a sign that read, "Whispering Hollow, 2 miles. "Pull over," she said suddenly. "I want to see what that is." So we did. It turned out to be a wildflower field filled with hundreds of wind chimes strung between trees, each one hand-painted with a name or a wish. They danced in the wind like tiny glass ghosts. Olivia walked between them with her fingers out, touching the strings gently, making them sing. She turned to me and said, "You know what I'd wish for?" I smiled. "What?" "For this moment to never end." She closed her eyes and stood there, face to the sky, chimes whispering all around her. I took a photo. I didn't know then it would be the last one I'd ever take of her. We got back in the car and laughed about how dumb our tattoos were going to be. I reached for her hand, and then the sound, like thunder snapping right behind us. A screech, a slam, a blur. The car jolted forward. I felt everything spin. Tires screaming, the world tilting, my chest crushed against the seat, glass exploding like angry stars. The last thing I saw was Olivia's face, wide-eyed, mouth open, and then the ditch came. Everything after that was slow. I remember floating. Silence. Then the taste of blood, the sharp burn of dust in my throat. I wasn't in the car anymore. I had been thrown, through glass, through time, through the future we built. I coughed. I tried to move. I screamed her name. Nothing. I turned. The car was upside down. Tires still spinning. Smoke rising in tendrils like fingers pulling away from something they couldn't hold on to. I crawled. I crawled with every bone screaming. I pulled myself across broken ground till I was back inside that mangled wreck, the metal twisted like paper. She was there, slumped, covered in glass. Her hair was soaked with blood. Her lips were blue. I grabbed her hand, shook her, called her name, begged. Nothing. I screamed until my voice broke. I held her. I kissed her forehead. I whispered, "Please, don't leave me." And then the world went black. I woke up to light. Blinding, sterile, wrong, and voices, blurry, far away, like I was underwater. Everything hurt. My ribs felt like they'd folded inward. My skull pulsed like it had cracked open and tried to glue itself back together. I couldn't move. I tried to lift my head, but hands pushed me down. "Stay still. Ryan, stay still. You're in the hospital. You're safe. Safe." That word meant nothing, because in that first moment, before I could speak, before I could remember how to breathe, I already knew. She wasn't there. I tried to speak. My throat was raw, like I'd swallowed fire and glass. Where is she? No one answered. They just looked at each other. Nurses, a man in scrubs, my mother, her face streaked with tears, standing in the doorway like a ghost of herself. "Where is Olivia?" I croaked, louder this time. They held me down. "You have a fractured skull, Ryan. You need to rest. Please, don't move," I screamed, or maybe I thought I screamed. The sound that came out didn't feel human. It felt like something breaking from the inside, something ripping open. They gave me a shot, and the world disappeared again. 4 days passed, or maybe 4 years. I drifted in and out of memories and machines. My dreams were a loop of spinning tires, and her voice calling my name, just before the crash. I'd wake up sweating, reaching for her hand, and she was never there. When I opened my eyes for real, really woke up, the hospital room was quiet. Too quiet. My dad sat in the corner, clutching a paper coffee cup with both hands like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. My mom was by the window, arms wrapped around herself like she could keep the world out if she just held tight enough. They didn't say anything. I already knew. "Still?" I asked. Whispered it. "Is she okay?" No one answered. Then my father stood. His voice cracked like dry wood. "She died in the car, Ryan. Instant. That's what they told us." I blinked. No. They said, "When they found you, you were still inside, holding her hand." Silence. So much silence it felt like it had weight. I turned my head into the pillow and screamed until nothing came out. I clawed at the blankets, tried to rip the IVs from my arms. I needed to run, to find her, to undo it. They restrained me. I remember one nurse crying. I don't know why, but that stuck with me. She didn't even know us, but she cried. Days blurred. The world faded around me. I didn't eat. I didn't speak. The doctor said I was healing, but they didn't understand. How do you heal from that? I didn't just lose my girlfriend. I lost her laugh, echoing through my room every night. I lost our mornings, tangled in sunlight and flannel sheets. I lost our fucking future. Everything we planned. Everything we promised. Gone. In the time it takes for a car to spin. I kept hearing the same sentence from everyone. It's not your fault. But they didn't know what it felt like to live. To live when she didn't. To breathe every day with lungs that should have stopped the same moment hers did. It's been 3 years. 3 birthdays. 3 winters. 3 New Year's Eve countdowns I didn't care to count. And it still feels like yesterday. People say grief fades. That time heals. That's bullshit. Grief doesn't fade. It sinks. It settles into your bones and makes a home there. You don't move on. You just learn how to carry it without collapsing. There's a photo of Olivia on my nightstand. It's the one I took at the wind chime field, just hours before the accident. She's smiling, head tilted to the sky, hands open like she's catching music from the breeze. I talk to her sometimes, not out loud, not really, but when the world gets too loud, I close my eyes and go back to that day, that field, her laugh. Sometimes I imagine what she'd say if she were still here. She'd probably tell me to stop being so dramatic, roll her eyes, tug me by the collar and tell me, come on, the world's still turning, and I'd follow her, always, but she's not here. And some nights, I still sleep on one side of the bed without realizing why. Other nights, I wake up sweating, thinking I hear her breathing beside me. I've prayed every damn night since she died. Not for peace, not for strength. I prayed for the impossible. I begged God to give her back to me, even for just 5 minutes. I'd trade everything for that. My name, my heartbeat, my future, everything. Just 5 minutes. To hold her, to tell her what I never got the chance to say. That I would have died for her, that I should have. There's this store down the street from where we grew up. Olivia used to drag me there to buy her favorite yogurt, some obscure brand with lavender and honey. I hated the taste. But now, every time I pass that aisle, I stop. I stare at it. The same flavor, same packaging. And I just stand there like an idiot, frozen in front of a fridge door, while people walk around me like I'm not falling apart on the inside. One time, I bought a dozen of them and left them in the passenger seat of my car. Just sat there, watching the sun melt them down into a mess. And I cried harder than I did at her funeral. I've tried dating. Once. The girl was sweet. She smiled like Olivia. Not the same, but enough to make me look twice. But halfway through dinner, I realized I wasn't really looking at her. I was looking for pieces of Olivia in a stranger. That wasn't fair. So I stopped. 3 years. That's 1,095 mornings waking up without her. 1,095 nights of sleeping beside a ghost. But sometimes, she comes back, in dreams. Sometimes we're back in that canoe, drifting across Miller Lake, talking about the future we never had. Sometimes we're dancing barefoot in my kitchen, her hair wet from the rain, singing off key into a wooden spoon. And in those dreams, she always says the same thing right before I wake up. Don't forget me. I never could, not even if I wanted to. When Olivia died, something inside me died too. Not just the part that loved her, the part that believed. I spent years surviving in fragments, half-formed conversations in my head, half-written letters I never sent. I walked through the world like a shadow of someone who used to be real. The laughter faded, the colors dulled. I became background noise in my own life. I didn't just lose a girlfriend. I lost the boy I used to be when she looked at me like I could do anything. For the longest time, I felt like I was betraying her every time I smiled. Every time I heard a song we used to love and didn't break down. Every time I didn't cry. But lately, I've started to realize maybe holding on too tight was the real betrayal, because Olivia wouldn't want this. She wouldn't want me stuck in the moment she died. She'd want me to live. Not just exist, but live. Last week, I had a dream, and I think it was more than just a dream. It felt like goodbye. We were standing on the edge of the field of wind chimes, the same one from before, but this time, it was twilight. The sky was violet, and every wind chime was still, completely still, like time itself had paused to let us be. She walked toward me barefoot, in that same hoodie she wore the night she moved in with us, her hair glowing gold in the setting sun, and she smiled, that same Olivia smile, the one that made the world feel safe. I couldn't speak. I just started crying. She reached up and touched my face. "Ryan," she whispered, "I love you more than I ever knew I could love anyone." I shook my head. "Then why did you leave?" Her eyes filled, but her voice stayed calm. I didn't leave you. I've been here all along. She pressed her palm to my heart. Right here. Every time you looked at the stars. Every time you said my name. Every night you prayed. And then she stepped back. The wind chimes started to sing, one by one. She took a breath. But it's time. You have to let me go. I begged her not to. I can't, I whispered. If I let go, I'll lose you. She smiled again, but this time it was sad. You're not losing me. You're setting me free, and you're setting yourself free too. She walked backward, fading with the wind, and her final words stayed with me even after I woke up. Love again. For me. For us. Please live. I woke up with tears on my pillow, but for the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel crushed. I felt light, not healed, not whole, but ready. So here I am, speaking into a microphone, sharing our story. Not for closure, not for pity, but because maybe someone out there is hurting the same way. And they need to hear this. You can survive. You can love again. And it doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying them with you into the next chapter. Not as an anchor, but as wings. Olivia was my first great love. She'll always be the echo in every beautiful thing I see. But I'm learning to breathe again, to live again, and one day, maybe, to love again. If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for walking through my memories, through our memories. Olivia may be gone, but she's still with me. In every story I tell, in every song I hear, in every breath I take when I choose to keep going. And maybe, just maybe, you've loved like that too. So, I want to hear from you. Have you ever lost someone you couldn't imagine living without? Have you ever carried a love so deep it refused to die, even after goodbye? Leave a comment below. Tell me your story. Let's remind each other that we're not alone in this. And if this story moved you, helped you, or made you feel seen, please leave a like and hit subscribe. There are more stories like this to tell. Not just about loss, but about healing, about starting over, about hope. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning of something new, and I hope you'll be here for it.